good. Hello, YouTube viewerland. Right, today we are going over the FXDX. We are going to make a list for Project Chop Chop. 99, 2000, I don't know what year, 2001. FXDX, which I have similar to 2000, has the old spring tensioner style cam chain tensioners. Suck. The bike's done 26k. It'll go on a lot longer than that. Real good condition. But they fail. So it's time for an upgrade. Whilst we're in there doing that, it'd be pointless to not change the cam. Because hey, everyone likes a bit of performance. So we've been gathering bits. Alex over at Fastlane Headworks, awesome guy, really helpful. Give him a shout. Talked him through what I was doing. I already had some of the parts that I picked up in the States when we were over on the last trip. So he talked through the rest of the stuff that I was going to need and put a kit together for me. So if you need anything, give him a shout. We've decided to go with a cam upgrade whilst we're doing it, because hey, we're in there, so we might as well go for a bit more power. So we've got the Andrews N21 cam. So these are conversion cams, so these allow it to go into the existing bearing in the back of the block, I suppose, where the original cam would sit. But then they have the newer style cam that doesn't sit in a bearing here, they just run on the parent material and oil, and they don't need pressing in. So that's that. So we've gone for an upgraded cam, we've gone for adjustable push rods, we've gone for the later 2007 onwards cam support plate with the hydraulic tensioners. We've gone for some fueling hydraulic tensioners because they're really good. Oil and filter obviously going over to fully synthetic. Motul, got recommended this, really good oil. New oil pump, new inner cam bearings, we're going to do those as well because they fail. Cam bearing puller. We've got new sprockets, all the shims to shim and space the cams and the chains off properly. Yeah, so we're ready to rock. So first things first, I've got the bike supported, which I normally do when I'm working on it, not relying on the side stand. Gonna drain the engine oil. I've run it up for a little bit to make sure the lifters are jacked up. Drain the oil, do that now, exhaust system off and start to strip down. Some of you eagle-eyed watchers will notice the car in the background's changed. More on that at a later date, which is why it's covered up. So, down here, the 5/8 bolt, that needs to come out. That is to drain the engine oil. Nice clean oil pan so we can see if there's any bits in it. Come around here, just check the exhaust isn't hot from running. Pop your oil filler out just in case there's a bit of suction going on so that it drains properly. So just pull that out. We're also going to pull the oil filter off and make sure everything is done and dusted, ready. So we'll put the new oil filter on and put the plug back in with a new O-ring so we know that side's all ready to go. First things first, get the oil drained. Handy tip I saw online, the oil filter's in a real crap place that you'll end up getting oil everywhere. Bit of tin foil in underneath it, make a sort of a funnel, a drip tray, so it drips down into your drain pan rather than rain down in all your engine. As you spin it off, I don't think there'll be too much in there. I lied. Yeah, there you go. It's running down the tin foil and not down the engine. That's a really cool trick. Nice. Just adjust it slightly. Yeah, there you go, that works. Spin this off. That works really well. Right, clean that up, on to the next part. We've gone with a black oil filter this time, so we're going to preload the oil filter with a bit of the oil. Put a little bit of oil around the rim of the filter as well. Oh, it's a nice red colour. Bit of this in here. You're not going to be able to fill it to the absolute because it'll fall out when you turn it sideways, but let's get a good bit of oil in there so that it hasn't got to pump too much in the filter when we are trying to, there we go, a little bit of oil around the rubber seal to lubricate it, seal that up so no dust gets in it. Over here we'll wrestle this on now, give the filter housing a quick wipe, new filter, squeeze it in there, screw it on, and that's it. You haven't got to do it up to 3 million foot-pound, it's an oil filter. Snip it up, snug it, job done. Clean all the oil off from around here, and we know that phase is done. Get the brake cleaner, clean all this area up. You don't want any oil on there, because when you come to start it, you want it nice and clean so you know that the new filter isn't leaking and that it's all sealed. That's that. Okay, drain plug in. Put a little bit of RTV on the drain plug so that it seals. The good thing about catching the oil in one of these trays as well is we can pour it through a strainer into a barrel and make sure that there's no nastiness in it, any little bits floating, anything that shouldn't be in there. You can give the oil a little bit of a check over and just look for anything that shouldn't be in there. Right, I'll clean this up, next stage. Exhausted off, the mid controls are off. I'm now going to whip this off and the air filter off so we can get access to the cam chest, have a look at it. I can show you the tensions we're on about. We also need to get the air filter out of the way because we need to get access to the push rod tubes. We're going to cut the existing push rods with a set of bolt croppers. Yes, I did say that. We're apart. I've taken the plugs out the other side. You'll need spark plugs out anyway because we're going to be turning the engine over at various times in gear. So we want to essentially be able to do that with no compression. So I'm going to flip the bike in gear anyway. Sticking in fifth, bike's in gear. You can now see, and I spin the wheel, cam chest turns over, which we're going to want to do throughout this a few times to prime oil pumps, set TDC, do all the stuff like that. This is the bit that everyone's going to cringe at. Bolt croppers. So we're going to flip these push rod tubes off. Get the push rods out. Keep all these bits, because although we are going to be using adjustable push rods, you need springs and bits out of these push rod tubes to be able to rebuild the new ones. So we'll put these off to one side and pop these up, and you can see stock push rods. Push that up. Now we're going to cut these push rods, releasing the tension on the lifters and the valves, allowing us to get the cam plate out. There you go, that's that one done. That's that push rod out. Stock Harley Davidson push rod for the bin. Nice. Keep the tubes. This one now. Brace, brace. Put her out. Again, she's out. Lovely job. Washer's just come out. That is a washer up in there, but we're going to be replacing those anyway, so that can come out. I'll push rods out of these lifters. All of this in the bin. Lift her out. Push rod end out. Tube out. Rubber washer up there. Out. Second push rod. It's overlapped again, so give them a little bit of persuasion. There you go. Oh, no. Still together. Oh, so close. There you go. pushrod out. So this saves you buying adjustable pushrods probably an hour and a half taking, and that's probably going good, but taking the tank off, all the rocker boxes off, everything's got to come apart. So they sell adjustable push rods for this reason. It also makes any future jobs 100 times easier. Try and keep everything clean as you're doing it. Clean that oil. So we're not taking the lifters out. Lifters at the moment are down in there. We're gonna use a bulldog clip, the metal part of the bulldog clip, to actually keep the lifters up in the air. So it's a little trick. So I've got some bulldog clips which I'm gonna butcher. A couple of various size bulldog clips. We're gonna pull the metal part out of the bulldog clip, the sprung loaded part, this part, and this will go in here, hook into the lifter, and actually keep it up when we pull the cam chest out so it doesn't fall out. You can do this several ways. Magnet, yeah, guys use magnets. What else? Quite a few things I've read online. So we're going to just go with this way. It's the way a lot of guys do it.
Tell me the last thing you stuck your finger in.
Clip that into both sides of the lifter, and that should hold the lifter in place when we pull the cam support plate out. So that's in there. Bend these out a little bit, just give them a little bit more of a tension. Works really well. Right. Don't need to worry, all these bolts here that hold the plate in are the same length, so you can just whip them all out. Need to take that off first, my bad. Whip a couple of these out. Just lay all your bolts down so you know you've got everything. Just going to take this front chain and sprocket off. So this is under tension at the moment to pull off. So we're going to have to pull this back. So we're going to use a pair of grips, pull that tensioner back so that we can take the tension off the chain and get the sprocket off to be able to get the bolts out. Alright, we're going to use a screwdriver. So it's just as good. That's that out. We're not reusing any of that. Now we can pull the rest of the cam support plate bolts out. That's an oil pump bolt, which we'll deal with in a minute, because we're going to reuse those on the new oil pump. Guide block, that can come out. All of this, keep all these bolts, because they're going to be reused. And get to the oil pump bolts, which we'll pull out in a minute once this cam plate is out. So, in theory, there you go, should just pull out. There's no ring that keeps it in place. For the oil pump.
A few inches later.
So, cam chest or cam support plates out. My tensioners don't actually look too bad at all, but we're in there, we're upgrading, so we're going to change them. I'm not sure whether someone's been in there and done some stuff, but it does all look very good. Like I said, they look fairly new, chain looks fairly new. Yeah, I guess I'll never know because I don't know the history of the bike, but it looks okay. So whilst we're in here, we're going to check the lifter's going to get torched. Just have a look at these. Going to pull these bearings out because they're being changed. These O-rings are all coming out because they're going to be renewed. Then we're going to check the run out on this shaft. So we want to check the run out on that with the dial indicator gauge just to see what the run out is on the crank, make sure it's in spec, and there's no nasty surprises. So I'll do that. So we've had a look inside. Lifters look really good. We're now going to pull these inner bearings out. I just thought I'd show you the difference and why we're doing it. So let me get the tool. So there's a proper tool to pull these out, which you need. I managed to pick one up on eBay really cheap, so that's good. Used, but it's a decent one. There are some cheap Chinese ones on there which are no good. So these are new bearings. So if I take you in for a look, just open the packet for a minute. These new bearings, they're full row bearings, so they've got roller bearings all the way around, no gaps in between. The old style ones that are in the counters currently, I don't know if you can see in there, they have bearing gap, bearing gap, bearing gap. So these fail, although these do feel really good. There's no issues with them. We are going to change them. It's the right thing to do. So yeah, let's get those pulled out and on to the next bit. There you go, it's one bearing out. So push the rod out the centre of the tool to free the bearing off. Tap it through. This little rod pushes up through the tool, expands the teeth on the puller to allow the bearing to be captivated on the end. Take this off. As you can see, I slipped and cut my knuckles. Joys. There you go, it's just one old bearing out. We'll do the other one, get that out as well, and on to the pressing in. So they're out. So now we're going to press the bearings in. What we're going to do, just going to get the press, get those in. But first of all, we're going to use some assembly lube on these to make sure they press in nicely. Now there is a way in the bearings go. So there's an edge with writing, and then there's a slightly rounded end. The slightly rounded end goes in. That assists the bearing in being pushed in its location. So you've got a little tool here. This goes through the plate. So what I have just found out, this little dowel here that helps locate this tool doesn't actually centre on it properly, so we may have to drill this plate out a little bit to clear this dowel pin if we can't pull this dowel out. What I'm going to do is try and pull. No, we're not going to pull that out, we're going to drill this out. Bear with me, people. And that's what you get for buying stuff on eBay. It does confirm the guy's story about it never being used. Anyway, now fits. Just needed to elongate this hole. We'll actually drill it out a few sizes bigger. It just sits over this little dowel locator, so it's nothing important. In fact, we could have gone much bigger, but we didn't need to. Plate sits there like that. So we're going to put this in here. Do the front bearing first. Push that through. This on the end. Then one new bearing. I'm going to put the bearing onto the pressing tool, and we are going to cover this in assembly lube. You can never have enough. The inside of this is going to be full of assembly lube. You don't want anything starting up dry. The whole of this cam chest will be full of assembly lube when we come to finally button it all up. So these thumb screws go in here, hold this plate in place, Make sure you put all 4 in. Some people might think, oh, I'll just put diagonals in. It's loads of extra strain on the plate. It's in. We're going to replace all the O-rings, so I've just pulled this one out down here for the oil pump. We're going to get these ones out here. Little screwdriver will probably help pick these out. There you go, that one's that, and that one's that. So you get all the O-rings out, because we're going to renew all of those. So let's go and get all the new parts, the new O-rings, the oil pump, the cam plate, and let's get all that built up. So O-rings are in conveniently. They're blue with the fast lane kit, so it's really good actually, because you know you've changed them. So new cams, shiny. Ooh, hopefully a little bit of chop. These come with a bit of a crappy coating on from manufacturer, so brake clean, get them cleaned up, get them really nice. We're going to build the cam chest or a cam support plate up with these in. And I'll check back in once that's done. So, cam support plate all built up, inner ones are on. You got to make sure when you put the cams in, you align the 2 dots to each other. That makes sure the cams are indexed correctly. Little bit of assembly lube in the tensioner just so it doesn't start dry. Bit of assembly lube on the chain. Assembly lube loads in the oil pump. Assembly lube in these bearings where they go into the body of the cam support plate. Yeah, essentially just assembly lube everything. You can't have enough of it. It's not expensive, and it's gonna make sure your motor goes together nice and lubricated and you don't have any issues. So assembly lube the world. So I'm gonna do all the cam lubes now, get everything all lubed up where there's any moving parts, anything at all. Get that in. A little bit of lube around the part where the oil pump pushes in, and we're going to push this in now to the bike. Get that assembly lube around all the cams. Everything needs to be covered so you're not starting dry. The other thing I've got to do, this pump you tighten down, then back off a quarter of a turn, so when you push it all on, you can get it aligned and it centers itself without any issues. You turn the back wheel over to get that to center, so we'll do that in a minute. I'm just going to try and align the pump itself. Catch you in a minute when we get it back together.
12 seconds later.
So, I'm going to push this in. Everything's been lubricated. Everything, all the O-rings, a little bit of oil on the O-rings. Make sure everything's lubricated up. Right, we need to try and locate this on cam plate. A bit of a wiggle to get it in, but there. Now we want a nice little satisfying pop, so we know that the O-ring is seated for the pump, which we haven't got yet. So just check, not fighting anything. No, no, no. I think I know what the issue is. It's just the last bit of the oil pump is not quite aligned. So just going to spin the back wheel a little bit and try and get it. There we go. And she's popped in.
Nice.
Lovely. That's that. That's in. That's as it should be. So now that's in, we're going to tighten the support bolts Tighten them down. Then we're going to spin the back wheel over to align the oil pump. Once that's done, we can nip it up with these. Not tight. Oh, that's an oil pump bolt. That's one you don't want to tighten yet. Just nip these up. Remember this already preset. 13.6. And do this in your cross pattern as best you can. And once round again. Just make sure we've got all of them. That's that. Now we're going to spin the back wheel over, line the oil pump a good few times. So that's probably found centre. Couple more for luck. Perfect. And do these up to the same torque. So round them again. I spin them over a bunch of times again, like so. Right, on to the next bit. Let's get the front end built up. We're back. It's all in. Chains on. This has all been spaced properly. Alignment's been done, so you align the you put a straight edge between these two gears, and then you choose what size shim goes behind this to make sure the alignment's right. All the tensioners in, everything's torqued up. So we're now going to put the front plate on. These can come out as well now, because it doesn't matter if the lifters now drop, because the cams are in. So in fact we want to push them down, because we want to make sure they're all the way down when we do the lifters and the push rods in a minute. So let's get the front case bolted back on. Right, got the front cylinder on TDC, both the rockers all the way to the bottom. I've put new O-rings in here, new O-rings up in here, and I'm about to build up the new push rods. So let's get that done, and we'll go from there. So, new push rod tubes. This bit goes in the bottom, clearly. This bit goes in the top, so you use the old push rod tube, no more. New push rod tube, you put an O-ring on there, push that down inside. Use the top half of the new, or top half of the old push rod tube. That goes down in like that. That's it. That's your new push rod tube. They're shorter, and then you've got longer push rod tube caps then to sit in and hold them in place. So we'll build the rest of them up. Pull the O-rings off. New O-ring on. O-ring off. New O-ring on. O-ring off, new O-ring on. Mint. Rid of all them. These all push inside these, like so. One in like that, and that one in like that. They're ready. So we're going to put the new push rods in. You've got to remember, one says exhaust and one says intake, so there's a pair of each. Two exhaust, two intake. You've got to put the right one in the right one. That's exhaust, that's intake. They're pointing kind of up towards them. We're going to get these front ones in first, get them tensioned, which is 2.5 turns to correct tension on the push rod. Wait 10 minutes, let it bleed down, check we can turn it, get the back one on TDC and do the same again. So I'll check back in a minute. So front ones are in, we let them bleed down. Could spin them by hand after they bled down. Put the retainers in that side, all good. We've turned this end, or the rear cylinder now, to TDC on compression. We're now just adjusting the push rod to 0 play, which is there. Then we are going to hold the bottom of the push rod and spin it 3 full turns to extend the push rod and compress the lifter. And hold the bottom in place, don't let that spin. This is a little bit of a cat-handed job, but it's doable. There we go. You kind of find a position where you can hold everything and do it. That's 2. That's 3. So knit the locking bolts up. Just a little spanner. Here somewhere. There we go. That's locked up. Knit these up because you do not want this coming undone. That would be disastrous. That's that one. So let that one bleed down. Now we'll do the exhaust one. Plant that tube so it holds up. Right, a tip I have been told, I stripped these apart, cleaned them with brake cleaner so that the threads are really clean. I think there's been cases where these have come undone, and it's probably due to the oil from the manufacturing process being left on them. Alex over at Fast Lane said don't Loctite them. He runs them completely dry, cleans them as I've just said, sets them dry and clean, and he doesn't have any issues. So we went with his recommendation because he's got a very good reputation at building these. So that's how we'll do it. So I'm just adjusting the exhaust side down now. These Quickies push rods allow you to extend them rather than having to take all the top off, as I said earlier. They're a little bit fiddly to get set, but once they're set and you've got adjustable push rods, you're laughing because you can do any work in the bottom end, even replace lifters, do whatever you need to do without taking the top end apart, which is really handy. Right, that's just nipped to no lash. There you go, no lash. I'm just going to now do this as we did earlier. Hold the bottom one. Get our 3 full turns on it. Just 1. Conveniently, these push rods have got a little mark on them so you know when you've done a full revolution, which is handy. Others I've seen, they say you need to mark them with like a paint pen or a marker to know how many times you've rotated them, but these are nice and simple. And yeah, that's 3 turns. Just going to nip them back a tiny bit because he's got a 3 and a bit. There we go. Right, we'll nip this up, get this one bleed up, see if these can be turned by hand after. I've already put oil in the motor, so that went in a little bit earlier. They're nice. So motor oil's already in. I'm going to get the 4 controls on, and I'm going to get the exhaust on. Then we'll check these have bled up, get them back together. get the retainers back on, and then we'll turn it over with the coil off, make sure we get oil pressure, and then it's start-up time. Right, so exhaust is on whilst we were waiting for the push rods to bleed down. The inlet one has bled down, feels right, he spins. So let's get the inlet cap on. We'll wait for the exhaust one to finish bleeding down. Make sure this is all pushed on the O-rings. We don't want any leaks after all this. All that's an inlet. It's pushed down. Tube. Push that down. Lovely. Just need this one to bleed down. So, once that's bleeding down, we'll have a quick tidy up. So, done. Push rods are adjusted. Everything's as it should be. We are now going to turn it over with the plugs out, see if we get oil pressure, because we don't want to start at no oil pressure. So we're going to check pump, everything runs right. We're going to turn it over till the oil pressure light goes out. Then she's ready to start, fingers crossed. So, turn her on. We've got her in gear at the moment, so we're going to take it out of gear, because we had her in gear when we were trying to get everything set. There we go, not in gear now. So we're going to turn her over. Short burst, because you don't want to do too much. And again in a minute. This is why it's so important to put loads of assembly lube on everything. So I'm just going to quickly check the oil level, because we've filled it up, but it may have taken some into the filter. We'll just quickly go back in there, check that. Should be checked on the stand, but it's okay. Just keep going. And there we go, the oil pressure light's gone out, so we know we've got oil pressure. A little bit for luck. We're going to put the plugs back in. Now we may need to adjust idle, because the carb's obviously set for the old cams, so there's a fine tuning, but hopefully by the fine tuning she should start up absolutely fine. Or at least we know we've got oil pressure, so that's a good start. We can listen for any noises or any problems. Right, fingers crossed we are sharing this moment together, real time. Let's see if she starts. Fuel's on. Got a little bit of choke, I won't do too much. Try again. Did we unplug it? We got no HT leads on. Duh! That's why it ain't starting. Left them off for safety. Straight up! Woo! Sounds good. She sounds good. Nasty. Right, so let it get warmed up, give it a clean down, we'll take it out for a test ride. Let's go, we'll try this thing out, we'll get it started up, make sure she runs nice, and check back in a minute when we get there. Taking the bike up the road, just done about 10 minutes riding, pulled over to check there's no leaks or anything. Obviously we've had drain plugs out and bits of the casing off, no leaks. Bike train's mint, idling away. Yeah, pulls really well. The new cams are definitely doing a thing or two. Really happy. So let's go for a ride. And we're back, just like that. Done. Went and put about 25 miles on it, something like that. Sweets nut. Had to adjust the carbs slightly. The idle was a little bit low, but that's expected when you go and change that much on the engine. Something's bound to need adjusting. Yeah, pulls like an absolute train, so that's really good. Sounds really cool as well, really barky now. So yeah, success, we've done it. Never done it before, so that was thanks to things like this on YouTube that sort of gave me an insight in how to do it. Also want to thank Damien, a friend of mine. He's been doing bikes for many years. He helped me out with a few bits in terms of advice and pointers, so that was great. And again, obviously Alex at Fastlane Headworks for sorting out the parts I need, making sure I had everything to do the job in one hit. So yeah, there we go.